Most people think that Facebook ads are random, that if the creatives are good enough, everything else falls into place. Wrong. Ads are the art and science. The creative's the art, the science is one equation, and it's the equation that decides whether your ad account prints or bleeds. Now in this video, I'm going to be covering how the Meta algorithm actually works and the parts that are different for agencies versus like e-commerce. But before I do that, why should you listen to me? Well, my name is Leo. I've now scaled 3 agencies past $50,000 a month, with one of them going all the way up to 150 and then to an exit. But on average, across all of the ad accounts that we run for those agencies, we're averaging anywhere between a 3 to 5x ROAS, a 60% show rate, closing anywhere between 5 to 15K upfront. And we've also worked with over 150 agencies through this company right now, helping them with meta ads and solve other bottlenecks within their agencies. Now, the first thing that I want you to understand before we jump further into the video is the creatives are the art, the algorithm is the science, and it's really an equation that you just have to engineer. So stick to the end of the video because there's genuinely going to be so much value that I don't see talked about enough on YouTube. And there's one thing that agencies can do that e-commerce guys can't. And it's literally the single biggest lever on lead quality. Okay, so continue watching to the end of this video and I promise you'll get everything that you need and more. Now, when it comes to everything that I'm going to be talking about, there's kind of a 4-step process that I'm going to be using to break everything down. And the first step is going to be talking about how Meta picks an ad in 200 milliseconds. Every single time someone opens up Instagram or Facebook and they see an ad, there's a 200 millisecond window where Meta runs the whole thing. And in that window, tens of millions of ads compete for that one impression. And there's a 4-step process behind that impression, which is number 1, retrieval, number 2, light ranking, number 3, heavy ranking, and number 4, auction. Now, retrieval is the most data-heavy step. Of tens of the millions of ads that are running on Meta, is your ad even remotely relevant to this user? So you have to make sure that it's relevant. Then light ranking is going to determine whether or not your ad goes from the tens of millions into a few thousands of ads that do rank on a user's feed. So there's not much really else to it. It's just a lighter ranking, whether or not you go from the millions to the thousands on your users' screens or your target audience screens. After light ranking, you have heavy ranking, and this is where your ad starts to rank from a few thousand ads to a few hundred on your target audience's screens. And this is where your real competitors are and where the equation kicks in. And the last one, auction, is where the final few ads fight for the impression and the highest effective bid wins. So in that 200 millisecond window, tens of millions of those ads go through that 4-step process: retrieval, light ranking, heavy ranking, auction, and they get filtered down to 1. And understanding those 4 steps is understanding the entire game of meta ads. So let's just cover this first step of retrieval in a little bit more depth, because this is where the biggest myth about targeting lives. Now, retrieval is where Meta decides who to show your ad to. And post the Andromeda update, it decides that mostly from your creative, not your ad set settings. Meta reads, scans, and analyzes everything about your creatives: the hook, the format, who's on the screen, copy, script, thumbnail, even your landing page, to infer who this ad is for. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Andromeda update is, AI flooded Meta with creative, so they upgraded how the retrieval process sorts it. And the net effect of that, and what this whole update is that Meta got really good at figuring out your exact ICP from just your ad copy and creatives alone. So that means that the old targeting playbook is dead for us. Interest targeting, legacy, barely use it. Lookalikes, not great anymore. CPMs spike, and you need a ton of data to make them work. So what we actually run is always broad plus advantage plus for some ad sets, and we just let the creative do the targeting. Now here's the agency twist. Creatives don't just decide who sees it. It decides the quality of who responds. So what you need to be doing, like it's a non-negotiable, is putting a revenue floor in at least some of the creatives that you have in your ad set. For example, I say agency owners above 20K a month, so that I have a foundation, a floor of my ICP that I'm targeting through meta ads. And it sets a barrier for Meta and the prospect that comes in. Now, aside from just calling out a higher revenue floor in your ads, you need to speak to higher level problems related to your prospects. For example, for me, a higher level problem of agency owners is going to be predictable scale, margins, acquisition, etc. right? So the higher tier prospects only respond to the problems they actually have. Beginner problems pull beginners in. So you need to be targeting higher level problems that your dream ICP can resonate with. So to sum all of this up, your creative is your targeting, and for agencies, it's also your lead quality filter. The ad decides who books before Meta ever even shows it. And now that we've covered retrieval, it's going to be pretty simple for you to understand how light ranking works. Like literally the creatives that you put out, they're going to start to rank on the millions of ads in the marketplace on Meta, and then it's going to start to rank higher and higher and higher on your user's feed if it's a good creative, if it's something that resonates with your ICP. So from here, we're just going to jump into how heavy ranking works, because this is the part that actually matters, not so much light ranking. Now to jump into heavy ranking, this is literally what I call the equation of ads. Like this is literally the whole thing, so really take in as much as you can here. Once your ads are published on Meta, the equation, heavy ranking, is going to assign a value to every single ad that you've launched. The higher value wins the impression, lower value loses or gets a worse placement. Now, what determines the total value of an ad? Well, that's going to be the advertiser value and the consumer value in experience. Now, I know what you're thinking. Advertiser value, consumer value, experience, all these different things. They sound so sophisticated and useless. I don't know what they mean. Don't worry. It's actually not that complicated. I'm going to break this down into two very simple parts. Now, advertiser value is super simple. All that it means is your bid, as in how much you spend on ads, times the estimated action rate. So what is the goal action of the campaign? Is it to fill out a lead form? Is it to book in a call with you through your opt-in funnel? Like, what does that step look like? And that's what your advertiser value is. Now, for consumer value, put in plain terms, is just can you get the click and can you monetize that click? So when you get the click, what is your CTR, CPC, CPM, hook rate, hold rate, cost per 3-second view look like, right? Because the higher the CTR, the purest signal that your ad is going to be relevant. Like that's literally Meta rewarding you with cheaper CPMs and better traffic over time. That means that, you know, with a CTR, more people are engaging with your ad. So obviously if more people are engaging with your ad, Meta is going to push that into the algorithm more, right? It's that simple. And the second one that I mentioned, which is monetizing the click, which is the click to conversion, of the people who clicked, how many actually took the action that you optimized for? So if your campaign is optimized for leads or calls or schedules or a purchase, or if you're doing e-commerce, whatever that looks for, right? That's going to determine the customer value in the experience. How many people are actually doing the thing that you're wanting through the campaign? It's that simple. Now here's the agency owner twist. The conversion action that you pick for the campaign changes everything. I promise you, everything. E-commerce optimizes for a purchase. They want the cheapest cost per conversion. They want the cheapest purchase through their funnel. That logic does not transfer to you. You should always optimize for the qualified booked call. Never leads, never all conversions. You should deliberately point the equation at the higher quality conversion. So your version of the equation as an agency owner should be high CTR, meaning that you have a great creative, high click to qualified call rate, meaning that people are actually not only clicking into the creative, but they are going into the funnel and they're booking in a call with you, which is the goal conversion event. So that feeds Meta the qualified calls and it hunts for people who then become more qualified calls, right? Because if you get one qualified call through the campaign, you send that data back into Meta's Pixel. It's going to obviously try and find you more of the same types of people to achieve the same conversion event, which is scheduling a call. So the whole point of understanding all of this is e-commerce optimizes for the cheapest conversion. You optimize for the best one. You pick the wrong event and you've told Meta to go find you the cheap, broke leads. And it will, brilliantly. So whoever survives heavy ranking lands in the final auction. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the auction is literally just the group of the advertisers left, fighting for that one impression, the highest effective bid. Now, while you're in the auction phase, Meta is doing something called auto bidding for you, where Meta bids for you to get the most conversions at the lowest cost, which is what most people run. Now, aside from auto bidding, one thing that a lot of people do, and maybe you've heard of this before, is manual bidding, meaning that people put a cost cap on the campaign, or bid caps, meaning that you are looking to acquire a conversion event at this cost as a maximum, right? This is one thing that a lot of people typically do. Now, here's the reality check. People obsess over these cost caps and bid caps like it's the secret and it's going to achieve all these amazing results. It's not. Profitable accounts run on both, even at 5 to 6 figures a day. So just pick the one that solves your constraint. And this is where you need to think like an entrepreneur and not so much a media buyer, because bidding tweaks won't take you from 1 to 10K a day on their own. So the most important thing to understand here is that the bidding method, as in putting a cost cap or a bid cap on the campaign, isn't the cheat code everyone treats it as. Fix the constraint in your business, not the setting in your ads manager. Now, the stuff outside the 4 steps that I've mentioned so far that still decide whether you win or not is going to start with the one lever that agencies have that e-commerce guys don't. And this is where we'll talk about signal quality, as in feeding Meta qualified data. And this is what I call the agency's secret weapon. Now, you have to realize, Meta only optimizes as well as the data that you send it back. The better data on who your real buyers are is going to make sure that Meta finds more of them and lowers your cost per acquisition over time. Now, here's the lever that you need to pull that nobody ever uses properly, which is Conversion API on qualified leads only. Now, Conversions API, or something called CAP, you must have seen this before when you were setting up your Metapixel, is literally just sending your conversion data back to server side, not just from the browser. Most people make the mistake of just firing the event on every single lead or opt-in, but we, even in our own agency, only fire it on qualified leads so that Meta can literally model these qualified leads. It can learn, and this is going to help it understand that, okay, this is what a good lead looks like. Not this is what any lead looks like, okay? This is not what we want Meta to understand. And in my opinion, this is the cleanest way to pull the algorithm towards the quality that you are looking for instead of just volume, right? Because we're not looking to completely book ourselves out with just trashy calls with low quality prospects that are just going to waste our time. We want high quality and low volume. And it's uniquely available to us because we have a qualification step e-commerce doesn't. Now, this is where I'm going to go into EMQ, which means event match quality. A score from 1 to 10 in the events manager on Meta side on your lead and purchase event. It basically rates how well the customer info is that you send back with every single conversion event and how well it matches real Meta users. Because the more and better parameters that you send, the higher the match. So a higher EMQ means that Meta attributes conversions more accurately and optimized better. So CAPI and the service side is how you push it up. Now, here's my honest take. Don't treat EMQ or event match quality as like a gospel or this truth or like a Bible, right? A 10 out of 10 score doesn't guarantee profit, and I've run great accounts without a perfect score, but sending clean, qualified data is still the right move. Also, just to note, take Meta's in-platform conversion numbers, like everything that you see in the ads manager, with a grain of salt after its recent updates, and use your third party or CRM like Go High Level to attribute the real cost per qualified call and judge it on that basis. So the most important thing to understand here is that e-commerce feeds the algorithm every single purchase, but we as agency owners only want to feed it the qualified calls so that Meta can stop optimizing for those cheap leads and start optimizing for real buyers. That's the whole edge that you have as agency owners. But feeding Meta quality data only works if you also give it enough volume to learn from, which is where agency budgets and volatility come in. And this is where we have the argument of volume versus quality, the ROAS math, and the learning phase. Now, our approach with Meta Ads, with all of our agencies, is to aim for the highest volume of leads, but optimize on the funnel side for the highest quality so that we have the maximum number of volume coming into the funnel. We qualify super hard, and we only feed Meta's pixel only the good ones back, so we get the best of both worlds. Now, when it comes to ROAS, here's the math that lets us get away with less volume. When an e-commerce brand owner makes a sale, they net maybe $10 or $20 in profit, right? You, as an agency owner, sell high ticket and make $5,000 from just one sale. So you don't need to do e-commerce level conversion volume and be wildly profitable. But the trade-off here is where you need higher budgets to generate enough conversions for Meta to learn, which means more volatility, meaning that you will get fewer but bigger conversions over time, meaning that you will have like bumpier data. So this is where, as agency owners, we get into the learning phase, and this is real talk. Ads are always learning. There's no magic, graduate, and it's good forever. Everything dies eventually, and it's just the circle of ads. Another ad, even if it's just a winner, will always at some point fatigue. So what you need to understand at first is that at lower spend, up and down volatile results, or what I call waves, on Meta Ads are 100% normal. So don't judge an ad that's spent under $300 because it really hasn't been properly tested. Give ads a few days and a little bit more budget. And this is where I say, when in doubt, zoom out. Look at 7+ days and maximum data and make decisions on that, not just on one good or one bad day with your ads. Because one sale through ads pays you $5,000 and not 20. So you can win on less volume, but less volume means more volatility. So stop killing ads before they've even spent $300 per creative. And here's where volume and data are the set. Now, here's how you actually produce winning creatives at scale. Now, for creative testing, we have two sides. We have net new concepts and variations. Now, post the Andromeda update, which I talked about earlier, there's one myth that I hear time and time again. Just pump out net new concepts, variations are dead. Not true. Variations of your winning ads are still highly effective. So here's how you want to think about it. One ad set equals one net new concept, and the ads inside it are variations, the different hooks and the different formats of creatives. You get more at bats at the concept level because often a variation, meaning that a different hook, a different style, is the actual winner, not the original concept. If you'd skipped variations, you'd have wrongly killed the concept. So what we do when we find a winner is we replicate it into new formats, right? So we take the same winning idea, we take very similar copy, and we just make new angles and new hooks around it to squeeze more winners out of it. So what you need to understand here is that if you kill variations, you will literally bury your winning concepts thinking that they lost. But the winner is often just a different hook on the exact same idea. So if you have 1 or 2 or 3 winner ads in your account right now, pump out 30 new variants of each, meaning that you have now 90 different creatives to split test, and you are bound out of those 90 to at least get one winner, which one ad is all it takes to get hundreds of thousands of dollars through paid ads. Now that the nerd hat is off, here's the 3 things that actually matter based on everything that I mentioned so far. Number 1 is your creative is your targeting and your lead quality. Stop fiddling with the ad sets, custom audiences, lookalikes, run broad, and let the creative target. 2 is make creatives that stop the scroll. High CTR and high soft metrics is literally half the equation. So different video, but it's just half the battle. 3 is protect your conversion signal. Optimize for the qualified call and feed meta only qualified data. Please do not let it optimize for cheap junk volume. So all you need to implement here is just broad targeting, scroll stopping creative, and a clean qualified signal with Meta's Pixel. Nail those 3 and the algorithm works for you. So here's how the game really works, and this is the part that most people don't actually document. Everything above that I've mentioned to you so far is by the book. And a lot of it is or was in Meta's own documents, but here's the reality. Meta is a public for-profit company. They make money from the biggest advertisers. The small ones, causing 99% of the headaches, don't get treated well, right? So bandwaves are tied to earnings. When earnings pressure hits, restrictions tighten, meaning that ad accounts, business managers, pages, profiles get banned in waves. Then a month later, it's fine. Same creative gets approved for one person, it might get it rejected for another. Meta doesn't play by consistent rules. And it's happened to me. Like, I've had multiple ad accounts, business managers, profiles banned. And what that meant was I had to figure out a way to create another profile, create a new business manager, and in that business manager, create a new ad account, start warming it up, and only then I could start running new ads to the same audience that I was targeting before. Now, I might have all of the pixel data that I had previously from the other campaign, which you can export into like another account, but even with that, that's still such a grueling process. And so what you need to understand here is just question everything. Even Meta's own suggestion, like, it always says, this will lower your cost per result by 11% on its like AI system. They're often there just to spend your money. They're not going to make you money. I've had the 0 opportunity score on my ad accounts, and they're incredibly profitable. Like, I've had no issues with those accounts, even if they say the score is 0. So what you have to remember here is that Facebook is a for-profit company, and you are the customer they're billing. Question everything as a result of that they suggest, especially when it conveniently costs you more. So here's what you need to do with all of this information. Now here's just a recap of everything. We've recapped the 4 steps: retrieval, light, heavy, and auction, meaning that the equation, the bid times action rate plus the user experience on the creative. In terms of the creative, we have the targeting plus quality. You need to optimize for qualified call. You need to have conversion API on all qualified leads, which is only going to be your agency owner edge. The budget and volatility trade-off, meaning that you will have to spend a little bit more to just make that one sale, but because it's a bigger sale, it's worth it, right? You need to test a bunch of different variations, and you need to question meta. Now, to sum all of that up, the algorithm optimizes for whatever you feed it qualified calls, not cheap leads. Now, if you're an agency owner running ads and you want this dialed in, I'm talking about the exact system that gets us and our agencies anywhere between a 3 to 5x ROAS and 60% of all of our calls qualified. Book in a call with me using the link in the description of this video. And even if we never talk, go switch your optimization event to your qualified call and set up CAPI on qualified leads only this week. I promise you it'll change your account. But either way, if you did book in a call with me, awesome, amazing. I look forward to speaking with you. If you didn't, I hope you got value from this video. Otherwise, thank you guys. Please give me a like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.